Good morning. So this is the day. Long awaited. Getting ready to get things going, and we're going to leave on the tide to get out of here and start heading north on our trip up to Maine. But after working way into the hours of the night, past sundown, trying to get things ready, I now have to put the boat away. As you can see over here, I've got all kinds of tools left out. The boat is a wreck. Garbage has to be done. I have to set up my nav station. But first things first, I had to get my coffee. I got some coffee going. Things are looking up. If you look out here, you'll see it is a beautiful morning. The cockpit is still in a disarray from last night. I had all kinds of projects going on, including one of the 3 solar panels I finally got up. The boat came with a mismatch of, it had 2 small panels, like 50-watt panels, and one like 100-watt panel. And they were all on the same charge controller, and that might have been enough. I don't find that to be enough to run the refrigeration overnight and not plug in. I think if I were at a marina that would be fine, or if I was running the engine a lot. But I want to put enough solar on there so that things will be good by themselves. So I had to take, eventually what I'm doing is I'm taking off what is about 150, 175, 200 watts worth of panels off and replacing it with a total of 830 watts. But in order to do that and to maximize the space, because we have, see these, we have 2 backstays, a double backstay, and so that limits where you can put the panels. Because so what I ended up doing was I've ordered a great big 430 watt panel to fit in the middle between the 2 backstays, and a 200 watt panel on either side of it. And how I'm going to attach them has been a point of contention, and something that I've been going back and forth with, and wanted to get somebody that could weld something up, a stainless guy, and they're hard to get this time of year, and I'm sure they're hard to afford, because those anything stainless is usually $1 million. So I tried to rig something up. So let me show you what I've done. Once again, I can tell you that I just got this done last night, so everything looks like hell. So bear with me. You can see there's the old panel, the one that I took off. There's the cover for it. But anyway, here's the new panel. You can see it got some dew from last night. But what I ended up doing was, I haven't wired it in yet, but that's separate. But anyway, I put 2 of these clamps on to hold it there, and then to keep the thing off because it sticks out past here, I put a piece of aluminum across channel, and man, it's solid as a rock up here. So what started out as just a temporary fix may actually end up having to last a little bit longer, but I'm pretty excited about that. And so I was really hoping to get the other 200 watt panel on today. My 400 watt panel is actually, my brother picked it up for me in Massachusetts and dropped it off at my dad's in Maine, where hopefully I'll be by Tuesday. And so, but I don't think I have time. I think I got to get the boat ready. The tide should be high at about 11 o'clock, and we have water. I've been told that I have enough water to come in and out of here just about any time I want, but being that I'm new in this harbor, I don't know where all the bumps are and the high spots and the low spots. So I think that I'll probably just wait till high tide, and my buddy Sean and his son are coming down, and they'll meet me at about 10, and then we'll hopefully get out on a rising tide and get out underway and head out there. But right now I got to get to cleaning up the boat. For so long, I have dreamed about this very moment, about finally casting the lines and being on my own boat, surrounded by my friends, and headed off on my own schedule to my own destinations. I can't believe that this day is actually here. So happy. Boat running good. Sean and Devin saying goodbye to Devin's mother, Sean's wife, and it's a beautiful day that we were leaving. We didn't have a lot of wind. We had to get out of our channel here. Our channel's really tough. It's a good half hour, 40 minutes of not a whole lot of water, real skinny water to get out of, and a lot of power boats going by that tend to wake us, but I think it's only karma that I get waked by a lot of power boats. I think that now that the shoe's on the other foot, I think I kind of have that coming to me. But anyway, we got going and weren't able to put up the sails until we got outside of Fisher's Island. Someday I hope to be a better sailor and more confident and have enough wind that I can hoist the sail and leave right from where I need to be and all the way to where I'm going. But that day is not today. Besides, we're out here to have fun and learn. So we did leave, and for a long time we were making 2.5 to 3 knots, and when I realized that we'd be getting into Cuttyhunk after dark, I thought that maybe we should do a little motor sailing. So we did some motor sailing for a little while, and then by the time we got to Point Judith, the wind filled in, and we were able to do some real proper sailing and sailed our way into Cuttyhunk. And the sun had gone down, and it was just, it wasn't dark yet, but you know that last bit of light there, so it was couldn't have been I mean, I would say another 10 minutes it would have been a lot more hairy getting in there, but it was wonderful, and we found a spot and able to swing around and set the anchor, and that big 55-pound rocknut anchor bit right in on the first shot, and we slept like babies until the morning, and real neat feeling. And so that was our night in Cuttyhunk. Unfortunately, Cuttyhunk has a raw bar that comes up to you. Some kids come by and will sell you some stuff right from the local oyster beds there, but we got there too late for that, so maybe we'll have to do that next time. Good morning. So it's an amazing morning here. We are in Cuttyhunk, and I apologize, I didn't get any content yesterday. We took off at about 11 o'clock on the high tide coming out of Watch Hill yesterday, and we had about 4 or 6 knots of wind, and then, of course, I stowed my spinnaker, so I couldn't find anything. You know, so I put my spinnaker in my storage locker for this trip up to Maine, thinking that we'd have wind the whole time. So it wasn't until we got up to Point Judith that some wind started filling in, and that took a long time. So we were going for about 2 to 3 knots for quite a while, and then we got some wind and we kind of took off. And of course, in Rhode Island Sound can get a little lumpy. I'm still just waking up here. My crew was sleeping in. I rigged up breakfast, and that drove them out of the bunk. I have my buddy Sean and his son here with me. Sean, you guys, some of you remember, works with me when he's another captain on a different tugboat. Anyway, so we're here in Cuttyhunk. Just kind of pan you around a little bit here. Anchored up in about 10 feet of water. As we were coming over this area right here, we were coming over here this way, and you could see the masts through that dip in the little dip in the land there. And Sean said, "Geez, I see a lot of masts there. I hope there's going to be room for us." I said, "Don't you worry about that, Sean, because you know what? When you see a lot of masts, most of them need a lot of water, and we don't need that much water." So I figured we'd find a place. We came around the corner. Sun had gone down. It was probably just about 9 o'clock at night when we got in last night. And it was great. We got in, anchored up. As you can see, I've got my snubber on here. This is the first time I've used this snubber. I had a light duty snubber. This is the heavy duty one. Goes down there and grabs the anchor, grabs the chain, and then has 2 nylon lines that it can stretch. And the idea is that if the boat were to move like this, first of all, it takes pressure off the windlass, which is bad seamanship to leave pressure on the windlass when you're not using it anyway. But second of all, if that chain comes tight give in it, so it kind of shocks you, where this gives you a little bit of a spring, and so that's kind of nice. So we'll be heaving that up. I just went through a fluids check and checked everything on the engine, started up, the engine's warming up, got the dishes done, and we're gonna start heading to the Cape Cod Canal, hoping to get to Hog Island 1 by around 11 or 12, somewhere around there, to catch the fair tide through, and we're headed up to P-Town. So I just wanted to get something for you to get going here, and who knows, maybe we'll see you in a little bit. Show you over here. Sean's over here working on the electronics. And we're getting ready to get underway. All right, see ya. Throughout the years of coming through the Cape Cod Canal, years running stuff, whether it be oil in the last 10 years or 10 years before that, going out and doing mud out of the big dig and all that sort of thing. Many times I thought how wonderful it'd be to be headed north, back up to see my family and friends in my own boat one day. And that day is today. And here we are, headed into the land cut. It's kind of fun going up here. Sean's wife, Catherine, drove her car to like 3 or 4 different spots on the canal, following us up, taking pictures and sending them to us. And we were able to put them on social media, and that was kind of fun for people following us up the route. If you're one of those people that were following the journey, then I thank you so much. It was a lot of fun having you guys check in the whole way. That was really neat. But here we are. This is a time lapse of us going up through the Cape Cod Canal, or the land cut. And here's Sandwich over here, Sandwich Power Plant. And then we come out on the east end of the canal, and we're able to finally get out there and set the sails. See, there was a little bit of wind there for a little while. And that was that. Last night we got into Provincetown, and it was kind of a real letdown. I used to go there a lot in my power boating days, and we went, instead of anchoring where we wanted to anchor, but we figured we'd be too far away for the launch service. We'd pick up a mooring and use the launch service and go out for a nice dinner. My friend Sean and his son wanted to take me out to dinner, and I thought that'd be a wonderful idea. So we picked up a mooring and paid $75 for a mooring at 4:30, almost 5 in the afternoon. And after we got all done, they said, oh, by the way, even though on the website it says that their launch service operates till 8 at night, said, yeah, our launch service is going to be done at 6 o'clock. So we'd have an hour to clean up the boat and get out, clean ourselves up and get out to eat and back, so we're going to do that. Now you might say, well, what about the dinghy in the back? Well, it was blowing and it was raining, and the outboard, I have a lift for it, but it's still quite a process, and it's getting easier each time we do it, but putting the outboard, or taking the outboard off the dinghy and putting it up there is quite challenging. And I would imagine at night, in the wind and the rain, and after what I would assume would be too many drinks, that'd probably be a bad combination. So especially because we got in at, like I say, around 4:30 or 5 last night, and we were planning on leaving at midnight. So to go through all that trouble only for a few hours didn't make sense for us. So unfortunately we had to pay the $75 for the mooring, and we weren't able to go anywhere. And we weren't the only ones in that situation. A couple other boats were calling with the same problem as well, but I don't know, maybe there seems like there's plenty of people in the anchorage, but maybe they were having problems getting enough people to run the launch. I don't know, I've heard that that's an issue these days. Anyway, so I went to bed around 7. I think Sean and Devin stayed up a little later, but I went right to bed figuring I'd be up all night, and got up about quarter of midnight, 12. Did my checks around the boat and got everything up and running and warming up. And Sean got up, and I put Sean on the bow, let the mooring go and guide me through the mooring field until I got out in open water, and then he went back to bed. And there was just a little bit of wind behind me, but I mean like 4 to 6 knots of wind. And we were doing 7.5 or 8 knots under power. So had I put any sails out, it wouldn't have done anything because our apparent wind was just about 0. So we just been running on the engine all night and all morning. And I'll have a better look at this. I fueled this thing up. I got it. It was full, and I've fueled it up since then once. And when Ian and I were running the boat, we were running the engine at about 2,200 RPM, and I think I was burning like 1.1 gallons per hour. Now I've seen in other forums that people run these things much harder at like 2,800 and burn about 2.2 gallons per hour. Well, we were running at 2,600 RPM for most of this voyage and making about 7.5 knots, sometimes 8, depending on the tide. Right now we're bucking the tide. I think it'll spin around here in another few hours. But anyway, we've reduced power down to about 2,350, and because we've encountered some problems. The guy I bought the boat from had told me that that I might want to look into replacing the linear drive unit on the autopilot. He said that it was getting tired, and I hadn't found that to be an issue until this trip. And I think that the more power that you add with the engine, the more RPM that you add, the swirl of the water puts a lot of pressure on the rudder, and the rudder wants to go hard over to the right if you're just steering by itself. And it's kind of weird. It's supposed to be a balanced rudder, but apparently, from what I understand, that's typical and common for this type of propeller. Well, anyway, it seems as though the autopilot will hold course for a while and will go one way and the other way and correct itself. But then all of a sudden, if the boat comes up on a sea and falls down and starts coming to the right, it gets in the zone and it tries to bring it back and it just sticks there, and the boat will continue to go and almost do a whole 360 right there. So that's a real issue. We're going to have to work on that. And one of the things that we've, in the process of trying to diagnose and chase down the problem, we've noticed that running the boat at like 2,600 RPM, it did that often. Running the boat at like 2,300 RPM, it does it much less, much less. So I think it's just there's probably, I haven't ripped apart a linear drive unit, but I'm assuming that it's probably a big threaded rod that goes back and forth, and then I think there's a clutch mechanism that goes up and down on it. That's how I have it in my head anyway, how it should work. But if the boat is always under power, always wanting to pull to the right, it would make sense that part of that area, there might be teeth that might be more worn in that one area. Once again, I could be completely wrong about this, just thinking out loud here, and I'll let you know what I find when I look into it more in the future. So it seems like that one little area, it gets stuck and it just doesn't want to move. So right now, since I want to save the autopilot when I don't have 3 people on board for crew, I'm just steering by hand, and it's been it had rained all night, and it was rainy and foggy and all that until about, I don't know, 8 or 9 in the morning. Now it's just about 10:30 in the morning. And as you can see, the sun's breaking through, and you can see my flag is just barely moving with it. That's right, apparent wind. It's funny, the wind is supposed to be blowing that flag right at me right now, according to all the predictions. The true wind is behind us, but the apparent wind is greater than the true wind because there's so little wind right now. But we do have quite a good heave on right now. As you can see, the boat's rolling around pretty good. And that's what happens when you're out in the middle of the Gulf of Maine. In fact, I should turn up the brightness on my screen here and see if I can do this for you. Backlight, there we go. Turn that up. Still learning how to use the system. All right, so here's let me show you where we're at. Why are we not panning out? So here's Cape Cod, and remember we started out over here. We came through, went through the canal, went up, and we're coming right up to here. So as you can see, we're approaching Kennebunkport. We've gone by Cape Ann, or you guys might know as Gloucester, and we're headed for Portland right now. And just north of Portland is going to be Falmouth, where my dad's place is. All right. So that's a report, how things are going. You buy a sailboat to do sailing. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm the only one that ends up doing some motoring too. But luckily it's a great engine so far. Everything's working well. So hopefully we'll keep that trend going. The Yanmar 75 horse diesel will keep banging away without any problems. So wish me luck. All right, we'll see you on the next one. Well, we made it. We got here and got a mooring, and they must have known something about us, because look at this mooring field. See all this? Look at all these boats. They put us all the way at the end. They must have seen that Puerto Rican flag on the back of my boat and thought, we better keep them away from everyone else. At any rate, we're here. It feels good to have this leg of the journey done. I mean, the part of cruising the Maine coast is just started, of course, but it feels good to get here. Sean and Devin have gone off to the dockside grill up here, and while they took off, I had a shower and a shave, and I'm gonna go. My dad lives right around the corner, so I'm gonna go and run over to his dock and see my dad, and then run over and meet those guys for dinner. But I just wanted to check in and tell you all is good. And the weather, look at that, look at that. I see blue sky. First time. As soon as the anchor gets down, or in this case, the mooring gets picked up, blue sky comes out. Anyway, life is good here aboard SV Paquita. Till next time.